Hi, I'm Eric Miller, by myself today with a gun I've been meaning to do a video on for a long time, but I could never find enough alone time to get it done. So here... Yeah, hey, I'm Eric Miller and I'm here to help out with this super pimp gun. So what is it this time? The Daewoo DR-200 semi-automatic 223 rifle with an 18-inch barrel. That is not a super pimp gun. What are you talking about? For all intents and purposes, this is a semi-auto version of the K2 rifle used by the South Korean military. What is not cool about that? Well, did you look at it? This is the short bus version of the K2. Okay, that's maybe right, but let's start off at the beginning. After World War II, South Korea was pretty much totally reliant on the United States for their military arms. They'd been given large numbers of M1 Garands and M1 carbines and other American small arms, and towards the end of the Vietnam War, it looked like their reliance on American weapons was not going to change. Oh wait, I know this story, Okay, so South Korea starts making their own M16s under license from Colt, and then Colt says, whoa, don't build too many, otherwise we're gonna have to make you pay for those. And then Korea was all like, oh yeah, well screw you, we didn't want to build your stupid rifle anyway. And Colt was like, oh yeah, well, what are you gonna do about it? You're gonna make your own rifle? And the Koreans were like, that's exactly what we're gonna do, and it's gonna be super awesome. And Colt was like, nuh-uh, and the Koreans were like, and our rifle is gonna be like so awesome that you guys are gonna be all like, oh man, their rifle is so awesome that I wish our rifle was that awesome. And then they did it. So that probably happened. It was first adopted in the early 80s, and shortly thereafter a semi-auto version started showing up here in America on the commercial market. Yeah, I saw one once on an episode of the A-Team. And then, as you may know, there were a series of scary rifle bans that went into effect in the US in the late 80s and early 90s. The DR-200 is the 1989 import ban version of the K2, which has certain military-type features stripped off the gun to make it legal until it was completely banned in 1994. And that's how we got Lumpy, the sad rifle. So, but how did the name go all the way from K2 to DR-200? I think this makes sense. DR for Daewoo rifle, and then 200 instead of 2, because this was clearly 100 times better than the K2. That's really stupid. So tell us all the things that got nerfed from the import ban. So the most obvious replacement is the thumbhole stock. Because militaries don't use thumbhole stocks, they use pistol grips. Right, and aside from the fact that this stock is molded for right-handed shooters and I'm a lefty, I haven't found it to be particularly limiting. I even used it in a match once, and the stock did not seem to slow me down. But it is ugly. So what's next on the lameness parade? The only other differences between this and a pre-ban version of the K2 are both here at the muzzle. First is the flash hider that was replaced with this non-flash hider. Well, you can at least take it off, can't you? No, to comply with the ban, it was designed to be non-removable, but there are a few shops out there who can fix this and update it for you. The other difference is the bayonet lug was removed, so you could no longer attach a bayonet. Which is great, because when that ban was in effect, the murder rate from bayonet attacks went down to 0. They were already at 0. You and your brain thinking. So those three things are the only differences between the DR-200 and a semi-auto K2, and it is possible to fit a normal folding stock and pistol grip on here. Well, so why haven't you? Dude, that costs money. Are there any other ways to update this? Yeah, you can get fancier handguards with a Picatinny rail on the top receiver here has some screw holes that allow you to mount a scope or an optic, as you can see. Hey, can you take that scope off so we can see what it looks like without a cheap piece of glass hanging off it? Well, the scope was on here when I bought it, and I can't remove it without completely removing the scope out of the ring mounts and losing 0, and I've got it really well sighted in right now, so I am not going to take it off. Come on, just do it. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Just do it. No, I am not taking this scope off. Okay, fine. So how does this thing even work? It has a long stroke gas piston just like an AK, an adjustable gas block unlike an AK, and a rotating bolt just like an AR. And it also takes any kind of STANAG compatible magazine. Okay, that all sounds weird. How does it even come apart? The disassembly on this is really clever. On the back of the upper receiver, there is a push button thing with a little dingus in the middle. Pushing this forward will open up the rifle, but while this little dingus is forward, it prevents the button from going in far enough to open. So if we just flip the little dingus back, it opens up and the guts will just come straight out. Ew, guts. The upper and lower receivers are hinged on the front by this captive pin that we can pop out here. And now we can look at this lower receiver. Wow, that looks almost exactly like an AR lower. Yeah, we've got the fixed ejector here, the empty mag bolt hold open and bolt release here. And all these hammer and trigger bits look very similar to an AR. So back to the upper receiver, this is where all the fun is going on. The captive recoil spring will come out the back here. And if we pull the charging handle back to here, we can pop it out. The bolt and gas piston will also just fall out the back here. Whoa, are you sure that rod didn't just come straight out of an AK? Yes, I'm sure. That is exactly like an AK, but you said there was a gas block that was not like an AK? Yeah, up here we have a 4-position selector on the gas block, which will allow you to adjust how much gas is coming in to operate the system. So what are the 4 positions? S, M, L, and O. And I think those are pretty self-explanatory. You have no idea, do you? No clue. I can say that M has a big orange arrow on it, so I assume that's the standard setting. Actually, when I bought this gun, this was so fouled up with junk, you couldn't even turn this knob to change the setting. Whoa, it must have been a huge jam-o-matic then. Actually, no. I only just cleaned it recently, and even with the totally clogged up gas regulator thing here, and shooting good brass and craptacular steel cased ammo, I've never had a single malfunction. Oh. So, back to the gas piston. You can see it has a big tab that fits right into the top of the bolt, or bolt carrier group, or whatever it is you want to call it. That just looks like a short AR bolt. Yeah, and if we take it apart, we can see how deep the similarities go. If we remove this cotter's pin, the firing pin will fall out the back. And then if we pull out this pin here, the bolt head should just come free. Colt, eat your heart out. And it goes back together just as easily. So let me get this straight. The rifle fires, gas comes out of the gas block, pushes the op rod backwards. The rod pulls the bolt carrier back, unlocking the bolt, pulling the spent casing out of the breech, ejecting it, and then tension from the recoil spring will push the op rod forward, causing the bolt to pick up a new round off the magazine, cramming it into the breech and locking the bolt, making it ready to fire again. Well, at least you were paying attention. So the insides are a crazy mix-up of several different guns. How does a person go about using it? The manual of arms for this gun is almost identical to the M16 or AR-15. The two main differences are the location of the charging handle, and the safety is slightly different. A full mag goes in, the charging handle is pulled, the gun is fired. Once the mag is empty, the bolt will lock open, the mag release button will drop the mag free. Once a new mag is inserted, the bolt release on the left side of the gun can be pressed, making the gun ready to fire. So tell me about the safety. Well, it's in the same place as it is on the AR-15, but you can see it's shaped differently. On these semi-auto versions, it's a 180-degree turn to go from safe to fire. Is there anything else we haven't talked about? Well, there are the iron sights. Oh, you mean those things you never use because you have your precious scope mounted? Yeah, I haven't really used them, but they are usable even with the rail on, and the adjustment on them is kind of interesting. And by interesting, do you mean annoying? No. Maybe. Okay, so there are two different elevation adjustments. What, up and really up? I guess. On the outside left, there is a dial with 4 positions, and fortunately for us, 2 of them are labeled. Well, I feel so lucky. 2.5 is the lowest setting, and it has this little notch to make me think this is the standard setting, so this must be 250 meters. The next would be 400 meters, and the next 2 might be 600 and 800, or 500 and 600. I honestly have no clue. You heard it here first, folks. The other height adjustment is this wheel underneath the sight itself, and it can be turned using a bullet tip. So what does the one do that the other one isn't doing? Well, my totally uneducated guess is that the wheel is for fine-tuning the elevation at the range based on the type of ammo you're using, and the knob on the outside would be for field use to quickly change the elevation for distance. And what's that thing on the other side? This dial adjusts the windage. You're supposed to press this extremely stiff plunger with something pointy, though a .223 bullet is not pointy enough, and then rotate the dial. It's pretty tough to do actually, and it's not something you would likely do in the field, or at least that I would want to do in the field. Anyway, like I said, I've never really used the iron sights, but they seem pretty good to me. Oh, this video is already super long. Is there any way we can wrap it up? What are the major benefits of this rifle? Well, first off, I'd like to say it's extremely reliable and can withstand abuse through neglect in a way an AR will not. Replacement parts were pretty scarce there for a while, but there are some places you can get them from now. It's nicely balanced. It looks like kind of a beefy gun, but it's actually quite thin. The trigger is nice. The pull is a little heavy, but it's crisp. It's not crunchy or squishy. It's really fun to shoot, and I find it very accurate as the whole construction of the gun is very rigid. But I think it has a bit of a coolness factor to it as well, and has become more popular recently due to its rarity. Well, if it's rare and people like them, why aren't more being imported? Well, that's a good question, but I have some serious doubts that any semi-auto K2 type guns will ever be coming into this country again. It seems the ROK Army realized selling these commercially was maybe a mistake because they were afraid that North Korea might be able to, or has already got their hands on some, making it possible to outfit infiltration units, which would really suck. Yeah, it has a few. As I mentioned before, there are upgrade parts available for the DR-200 to make it more like a standard K2, but they're a bit pricey. Of course, pimping out any rifle is always an expensive endeavor. There are no ambidextrous controls, and I don't think there's a way to upgrade any of them to make them lefty-friendly either. The real downside I see to this rifle is its weight. As I mentioned before, it's extremely sturdy, but that comes at the expense of weight. And it's heavy. I'm just glad I don't have to carry it around. Well, that's still lighter than a FAL or a G3 or an M1 Garand. How big of a wimp are you? Well, Wikipedia says the K2 weighs 7.2 pounds. This one with the scope on it maybe weighs a little bit more, maybe around 7.5-ish, maybe 8 pounds. Well, maybe it's not the weight, but the length. It's kind of a long gun. I guess we've all been spoiled by the AR, huh? So it's ugly, heavy, and/or long, and rare. Got it. Well, I really think this is a fantastic rifle. It's accurate, reliable, and lots of fun to shoot. So if you're looking for something off the beaten path, something other than a 16-inch AR-15, and you see one of these around, give it a look. Okay, good. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth.